Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. My name is Jason Ficara. I'm with Forewarn. Appreciate everybody taking the time this morning to come and take a look at the webinar of our product. Gonna give a brief overview of us as a company, then I'll hop right into some of the stuff that you can use Forewarn for, from the safety side of it to more of the intelligence side of it. And then at the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers if everybody has any. So I am going to just go ahead and start sharing my screen. Perfect. Okay, so the name of our company is Forewarn, as I hope most of you know by now. And we are a subsidiary of a large data company called Red Violet. So for those of you who may not be familiar with big data and how it works, it's very simple. We aggregate billions of data points on the general population of the United States of America from all different sources, credit bureaus, local law enforcement. Traditionally, this data is used in verticals like law enforcement, insurance companies, debt collectors, attorneys, anyone who has the need to get really detailed information on an individual when all they have is a small amount of information. We, through a process called data science and data fusion, we're able to link all of these random data points to people. So the easiest way to explain kind of the application of what we normally do is I'm sure everyone on this phone call at some point or another has been pulled over by law enforcement. And when law enforcement pulls you over, they're able to punch in your license plate number and see if you have any outstanding warrants, your personal information, where you live. Those are the types of systems that we produce and sell into the law enforcement field. So the genesis, the origin of how Forewarn came to be was a few years ago now, about 4. The president of our company was actually looking at purchasing a house. And one of the things that he kept coming back to was he was taking a route that I think a lot of buyers take is he hopped on Zillow. He would look at a property that was interesting to him, not really understanding, and now obviously we do, but at the time, not really understanding how Zillow worked as a platform. He would just call whoever was the realtor that was listed for the house he was looking at. And he took a phone call from a woman who was older. She was in her early 70s, I believe. And the thing that stood out to him was that when he called to see the property, he was told that he would have to come into her office if he wanted to go meet with her at the property. He said, I don't have time to do that. Unfortunately, if, I'm interested, I'm a serious buyer, would love to see the property. And she ended up meeting with him anyway. And it spurred this conversation internally for us as a company of the risk associated with meeting a stranger, not knowing anything but their cell phone number. So that's what started our path into Forewarn, which we took the only piece of information that we knew that could be verified, which is how someone is contacting you, a cell phone number. We linked it into the same systems that we currently provide to law enforcement, attorneys, and all those other industries. And we created a mobile platform for realtors, real estate professionals to use. And what I'm going to show you are some of the applications for it. So first and foremost, obviously, Forewarn is a safety product. It's a very quick way to verify, the identity of an individual that you're going to be meeting with, so that you can say, okay, Jason Ficara called me. This is the number he called me from. Punch in my phone number, and you can immediately verify that I am who I say I am. And the second side of that is being able to take a look and see if I am someone who, at least at a glance, you feel comfortable doing business with, from a lot of different stances, not just necessarily the criminal aspect of it. But I'm going to give you an example of a few ways to use our product and a couple of real life stories. Once we're done with that, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask away in the QA box. So our product is very, very simple, and it's intentionally simple. I'm on a desktop version, but obviously if you're probably using it from your mobile phone. We do have apps in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. there are only two options as far as searching an individual goes. So the first option is going to be to search by a phone number. It doesn't matter if it is a cell phone or a landline phone. You're going to be able to get the same results from either. We have phone record data on roughly 98% of the population of the country. Second option is going to be to search an individual by name. So this is going to come in handy if you have an email inquiry where maybe somebody just has their first and last name and you don't have a phone number for them. The results that this yields are going to be the same. So I'll show you an example. I tend to use myself as an example for this. I have a relatively unique name, which I wasn't aware of until I started doing these webinars and demonstrations. But there's only about 6 or 7 of me in the country. So if my name was John Smith or Scott Smith, I would have to define these fields much greater, probably down to a city, possibly an age range. But in my case, it's Jason Ficara. I can take a look at all of these, and I know that I am living in Deerfield Beach, Florida. Once again, if you would have gotten an inquiry from me and you were in the South Florida area, you would probably be able to figure out that this was me based off the information that I've given you. So what you see when you pull an individual up, if you guys haven't seen the products and you're not familiar, you're going to get all the fields that are presented here. So you're going to see someone's phone records. And the phone records are going to show every phone number that we've ever had positively associated with an individual. Now, these phone numbers can be tied based off of bills. They can be tied based off of credit reports. The phone numbers are very accurate. So what you'll see here for me, I have not had a lot of phone numbers in my life. You have my parents' house phone number. It indicates the date that it was last seen. So that's the last time that anything was tied to this phone number for me. You have another line at my parents' house, my previous mobile phone number, my first mobile phone number, and then my current. And it shows the dates last associated. So when you're looking through to see what a best contact phone number is for an individual, it's usually going to be the one that's on top, and that's always going to be the one with the most recent last seen date. Address history. What you'll see here is all the addresses that have ever been tied to me. So any place I've positively received a bill or mail that I've been on a deed for. These can also be, in some cases, places of business. They can be rental properties, but anywhere that we're able to say with a high level of confidence, this individual should be tied to this property. My criminal history, which in Florida, we do criminal a little bit different than most states. So in my case, I have, ending in 2010, quite a few traffic infractions. So we report we report traffic as criminal here. What you would see, I'll give you an example of bad criminal, well, what I consider bad criminal shortly. In my case, if you saw this, you probably wouldn't feel in danger working with me unless you were going to be in a car with me. So it does show the case type, which criminal traffic, the date that it was filed, the court that it was filed in, and then it'll show a brief description. So in this case, I had a suspended registration or didn't have it with me. I was found guilty, adjudicated guilty by a court. And then to the right here, you're going to see how it matched me. So first, last, and middle match, my birthday. The difference is that the address that I was living at when this was charged against me is not my current address. So this is considered a very, very high match, which is why we show it. Sometimes, and what you'll see up to the top right here is that we do have a show alias tab. So these are all of the names that I've ever been on file for different reasons. Some of them are obviously typos. This is my last name spelled without an A at the end, first initial, last name. The reason that we include this is sometimes criminal records will be under aliases. So these have all been confirmed. These are on record in different places. Just to give you an example, my cell phone number is under J. Ficara. So we're pulling this information and we're putting it in here in case criminal records are tied. This is for weaker matches of criminal. So what that means is, if I had any criminal history under my aliases, it uses a different match to show you that, hey, this is a potential criminal record tied to this individual under J. Ficara. So I don't have any because everything is under my correct and proper name, but we do include this to kind of cast a wider net for criminal history. If I had any bankruptcy, lien, or judgment information, it would reflect here. So bankruptcy information would show the type of bankruptcy, the date that it was filed, and where it was filed. Obviously, for you guys and what you do, that's important information on a couple of different areas, because working with someone and then coming to find out that they can't get financing obviously is a challenge. It can open up a conversation to how they plan on getting financing for a property if they're purchasing. The other side of things is that on the listing side, and I know this doesn't happen often, but if you're on the listing side of a transaction and you have 2 or 3 identical offers from potential buyers with no real defining factor, you're able to look into the folks who are placing these offers and kind of vet them and say, okay, how is this transaction going to go the smoothest? And one of those is if there are financial indicators that may potentially hinder the process. So that's how we see the bankruptcies, liens, and judgments used by our clients. Liens will show who the lien holder is, as well as the date of the lien and the amount of the lien. Judgments are the same. Once again, they're just going to show, a financial indicator that someone is being garnished or does have a judgment placed after them. Property records are going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's going to show the date that a property was purchased by an individual, the amount that it was purchased for, and then it's also going to show the amount of a loan taken out and the owners. So what you'll see here is that this house was purchased on July 21st, 2016. And if the house were sold, it would have the new owner here. It would still be tied to the original purchaser. So you'd be able to see every property that was ever owned by someone. You're able to draw a picture if someone's looking at a $500,000 house and they've never owned property, or they've, consistently owned lower properties. It's something where you're able to kind of try to see if potentially it's a conversation that needs to be had, or if potentially someone is not working with the best intentions moving forward. Is something that we kind of see a lot is with fraud increasing. We see a lot of people who are bad actors representing themselves as something else. Vehicle record history. It's going to show all vehicles ever owned by an individual. Least recent is going to be at the top, and then followed normally by most recent vehicles at the bottom. So that is the function of searching someone by name. Once again, that does pull up the same results if you look somebody up directly by their phone number. So I got to that screen by pulling myself up by my name. If I punch in my cell phone number, it's going to immediately pull me up. So I'm kind of an example of a neutral search, right? Where if I called you and wanted to see a property, you look through my history. I don't have $8 million worth of property all over the country, so you're not necessarily jumping for joy that I'm going to be the best client you've ever had. But I'm someone that has a property ownership history. You probably feel safe enough working with me, and hopefully we can have a good relationship where I become a client for a long time. You are going to obviously be able to see people who are home run clients that you're very excited to work with based off their criminal record and their purchasing history. I'm going to give an example now of somebody who is the opposite of a home run client. This is somebody that you would probably take a lot of caution when working with. We definitely don't advise as a data company on who you should work with or who you shouldn't work with. We just present data. So I'm going to be using terms like using caution when working with. I don't discourage against working with people. It's not our stance as a company. So this is actually a testimonial we got from a large association in the Chicago area. On our website, we were contacted by a young lady who had started using the product when they launched it. It had been launched for a couple of weeks, and she was a new agent. And it was, I think, her second listing that she had up, and she received a phone call from a gentleman who was very urgent to meet with her. And he was saying a lot of things that kind of caught her off guard. He was a serious cash buyer who owned property all over the country. He was leaving town the next day, and he was very interested and ready to make an offer, but had to do a walkthrough of the property immediately, and it was after hours. I believe it was after 6 p.m. So a lot of things that this gentleman said to her kind of had alarm bells going off, and from that she punched his information into our product, and this is the gentleman that she pulled up. So when we look at this person's record, just assuming that the phone call that they had is exactly the way she said, immediately we're able to verify his name was Joe. Perfect. We verified that this is Joe Bryan. Now, parts of the story don't add up right off the bat when we punch this in. The first part is, for someone who owns property all over the country, none of the property is under his name. Okay, maybe not the most bizarre thing in the world. It could be, under a spouse's name, any number of reasons. The thing that stands out pretty much immediately is going to be the 71 criminal records. So once we click on those, we're able to take a look at all of the criminal offenses. Once again, strong match indicator. Only difference is that the current address is not the address this gentleman lives at now as when he was charged. But as we go through this, we have violation of the sex offenders registry, crimes against children as a sex offender, driving on a revoked license, aggravated battery in a public place. So within his first 4 of 71 records, we're able to see that this gentleman is not only a sexual criminal, but also a violent criminal. So we go down one further, and we see that he's also been convicted of passing bad checks. So fraud, violence, sexual crimes. This is someone who has a very, very long list of different criminal charges. And when we go down far enough in this gentleman's criminal history, what we're going to see is going to be that not only has he been arrested in Illinois, where he's from, he's also been arrested in Arizona. He's also been arrested in New Jersey. And then when we get to this point, what we're going to see, and they show as unavailable, but from the Department of Corrections, is that he was actually incarcerated for many years over his crimes in Illinois. So this is, we pull from all sources. We pull from local sex offenders registries, Department of Corrections, local county clerks and courts. So what we're able to see here is that this agent was able to decide if A, she wanted to work with this individual, B, if she wanted to take extra precautions. So this armed her with the ability to make an informed decision, and then she was able to say, do I bring a colleague with me if I am going to do a showing and work with this individual? Do I not take any extra precautions, or do I decide that maybe this isn't someone that would be a good fit to work with me, and refer them to someone else? And that is our goal. Our main goal is to keep you guys safe out there and give you enough information to make the best decisions when you're working with someone. So we have a very simple product. There aren't many more bells and whistles. We're a data company. We intentionally kept it not flashy so that it would be quick and accurate for you guys when you're working, that you're able to put someone on speakerphone, open up the app and do a quick instant background check. That's about the end of the product, the end of my presentation. There's a couple of questions in queue, but I would definitely love to open it up for you guys if anybody has any questions for me. So I'm just gonna kind of go through them as they come in. I have a question from Edward. How do I find my username and password? I've used it on my iPhone, but now it does not work. Edward, that's going to be a question for main listings, or I will type in the phone number here for our customer service department who will be able to walk you through it. The short answer is it should just be your email address as your username. If you can't remember the password, on the app, there is a button there that will allow you to just go ahead and reset password. So it's going to be your email address. If you still have problems, please reach out to the number I just sent you. Where do I find this product in Flex MLS? Valentine, that is going to also, I am unfortunately not familiar with what the layout of main listings site is going to look like, but that is an answer that I'm sure that they can answer very, very quickly for you. Richard, the cost. So this is, then I have two about the cost. So this is a totally free member benefit that's provided for you guys by main listings. So it's something that they were kind enough to decide was something they deemed necessary for your safety and in performing your business duties. So it is absolutely no cost to you guys. And just to give you an idea, this is something that individual agents that we do sell to, they pay $20 a month for. So it's $240 a year. Julie has a question. Is the person notified in any way if you look up their info? So that's a great question. And the answer is no. So this is not a formal background check. This is not a formal background check where you would have to get someone's permission. We don't pull credit. This is a public record scrub. So everything that we provide is public record. Therefore, you don't need permission. If you had enough time to go city by city, state by state, county clerks and Department of Corrections, you'd be able to find everything we provide. We just make it easy and attach it to phone numbers and names. Okay. Janice, I see you're asking how you access Forewarn. Once you go through the steps on the main listing side to have the product, it's super simple. They have all your information. It is a simple process of getting activated. You create an account and then you're ready to go. The whole process takes a couple of minutes. Yep, so Kelly asked if we can use it on the phone. The answer is absolutely. About 95% of all of our customers use it mobily. So what you would do is you would go, and you can actually see it on my screen here. Once you're logged in, you can click here, or if you go into the Google Play or the Apple App Store, we have native applications in both of those. It's very easy to use, and I think that it's much easier to use on the phone than it is on a computer. Also, if for whatever reason you ever have a problem with the app, you're going to be able to just open up in a web browser and it's mobile native on the phone. Tux, unlisted phones, burner phones, I assume that is correct. So if someone has a burner phone that they're using for the sole intention of doing something nefarious, we don't have the ability to provide information. Unlisted phone numbers don't fall into that same category. So just because a phone number is not public record doesn't mean that they are that the credit bureaus and other entities aren't connecting phones to people. So we do pull unlisted numbers. Burner phones are definitely a no. Another portion of the population that makes up the 2% that we don't tie to is going to be people who don't have a big digital thumbprint. Normally, this falls into two categories. It's going to be the very young, so someone who's 18 or 19 years old who just doesn't have enough to be tied to them yet for us to show. The other is going to be the very old, because normally they don't have as much of a presence online, and it's harder to tie a new phone to them. Bear with me, guys. I'm going through these here. Yep. So Kelly, the app is going to be separate from the MLS app on the phone. It's its own standalone product. The license is just being provided at no cost to you by Main Listings. So, Tux, I see the question. Does it keep a log history of numbers or names? So this is actually a great question. So this product is intended to be used as a way for you guys to verify the identity of people you're going to be working with. We do keep a log of who is searched, and data in general is one of the most regulated industries in the country. And obviously, you know, it should be, because we provide a lot of sensitive information. So we do have a lot of protocols in play to make sure that the product is being used. For example, we have alert systems in place where if you were to search a fellow realtor in Main Listings, it pings our system. There's an alert that you're searching someone that potentially you shouldn't be. The same goes for political figures, politicians, celebrities. We do have systems in play that if impermissible searching is being done, it will suspend the account, and there will be an investigation into, you know, what the product's being used for. If you download the app, Brenda, you will not be charged, but you won't be able to access the product without signing up. So when you're downloading the app, it's just going to be the app until you have an account. The setup is going to go through Main Listings. Once you are set up through Main Listings, you'll be able to log in, but you won't be charged unless you sign up as an individual through our website, which I would obviously advise you not to do, because you guys do get it at no cost. Rachel, so you wouldn't log in through the free option through the MLS. It's you're just going to have the product on your own. They're giving you a license. You would log in once you're set up directly through either our website, which is forewarn.com, or through the app on your phone. Yeah, and I apologize again, guys. Unfortunately, I don't know enough about where you would go on the website in order to download the app. But I'm positive that Main Listings can walk you guys through it, and they'll be able to show you where you can download it. So Kelly asked if you're able to search family members to test out the app to see how it works. That's not the type of stuff that we're necessarily looking for. I don't think it would flag anything unless one of your relatives is either a fellow realtor in the same MLS that you're in, or unless they are a celebrity or a politician. And if they are, when we do pause the account, you can always just say, you know, X, Y, and Z is my second cousin. So that's why I was looking him up, just to verify the information. But I think looking up husband, wife, sibling, mother, father, you're not going to run into any issues. Yeah, so Tux brings up another good question, which is that he's getting leads coming in, and he's always interested if they're real people or bots. So I can tell you that if you search an individual by phone number and it doesn't pull to someone, and then if you're able to gather more information and get a first and last name and a rough area of where they live, if you can't find results based off of those two data pieces, there's a good chance that something is being misrepresented, whether it's a bot, whether it's somebody who's giving you totally false information, which can't be excluded, right? Because I mean, I hear it all the time. A lot of people who are looking for property or casually looking, they don't necessarily want their information to go into somebody's marketing database. So it's not always a bot. It's not always somebody with bad intention. Sometimes it can just be someone who does, you know, want to not be solicited to after the transaction. As far as selling things on Craigslist goes, not really a permissible use of the product. Once again, something that we don't advise for. It's meant to be used only in the context of you're dealing as a real estate agent or realtor. Okay, guys, it looks like the questions have slowed down. I greatly appreciate everybody's time this morning. If you have any questions that you think of after the fact, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at Forewarn.